Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And we're starting to get some early impressions of the PlayStation 5, and it seems to be impressing a lot of people. Different media outlets seem to be praising it quite a bit, but also the PlayStation 5 is apparently already launching to a huge amount of success, and I'll explain that here in just a bit. Also, we got some controversy surrounding the cheaper, more affordable Xbox Series S and the amount of power it has, so stick around for that as well. Before we get into all that though, we do have a lot more to go over, including a big delay, but first let's go over some of the quick news, starting off with Battletoads. Yeah, we get to talk about Battletoads today, which brings me a lot of joy personally, in large part because this was one of my favorite releases all year long. I had an absolute blast playing this game, and that's something I've been hearing a lot from fans. A lot of people really seem to have enjoyed this game, but there still has been that question of how did it do? I mean, this is the first new Battletoads game in I believe 26 years, so there was always that question on whether or not it could have success once again in 2020. The game industry has changed a lot since the 90s. Well, last week we did hear Phil Spencer kind of allude to Battletoads being a success, which was great to hear and everything, but now we're hearing some exact numbers from Rare and Dlala Studios, and I'm very happy to say it's reached more than 1 million players, and that's absolutely fantastic. I'm sure a lot of that, or even possibly even the majority of that, is coming from Xbox Game Pass, but that's a part of the reason Xbox puts their games into Xbox Game Pass day one. They want you to play this content in their service, and when they see a lot of engagement from a game, it shows players' interest. And the more interest players have, the more likely they are to stay subscribed to Xbox Game Pass. This is why first-party content releasing into Game Pass day one is extremely important, and we're seeing Battletoads have a lot of success with that. So that's great news, and especially for a smaller beat-em-up style game like this. 1 million is very good. Really, now I just want to see a sequel to Battletoads. They do have that achievement, second season win, and they were even using that hashtag for a while, so I'm really hoping we don't have to wait another 26 years to play another Battletoads game. Moving on, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night released last year in 2019, but it looks like they're not quite finished just yet. It's now officially going to be coming to iOS and Android devices as well, and interestingly, it's supposedly not going to have any compromises in visual quality and game fidelity. They did say that they're changing the user interface to see on smaller screens easier, and they're also making a few tweaks to the combat in order to better support touch controls. Overall though, they seem pretty confident that this will be a premium mobile experience without jeopardizing what fans like about this game so much in the first place. Now, they haven't given a release date or price yet, so I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but honestly, I think that this game could do very well on mobile if you have a controller. I'm not so sure about touch controls, but if it supports controller, then this will be a nice fit on mobile devices. It's actually currently available on xCloud, and it feels really nice on a smaller screen, so as long as they can optimize this version, it should be a good release. My fear though is that Bloodstained Ritual of the Night did struggle on the Switch early on for its lack of optimization, so I'm hoping they don't do a repeat of that. But you know, this is a great game and one of the better Metroidvania-style games to release in recent years, especially if you like the older Castlevania games. I mean, this is coming from Koji Igarashi, which is most well known for his work on Castlevania, so that shouldn't be too surprising. But this release should just make Bloodstained a bit more accessible if you previously missed out on it. Now, we also got a big delay to talk about today because CyberPunk 2077 has been delayed once again. Luckily, not for too long this time, and it's actually just 21 days. That means it will now be releasing on December 10th. So that's not a major delay or anything like that, but still this is very surprising. CyberPunk has gotten delayed a few different times before, but the reason this one is so shocking is because they just announced a few weeks ago that CyberPunk had gone gold, which means it was ready to ship, or at least that's what we thought. In fact, I don't know if I've ever seen a game get delayed after it's gone gold. Maybe it's happened before, but I don't know of any example off the top of my head. However, what exactly is happening here? Well, CD Projekt Red pointed at the struggles of releasing this on several different platforms such as current generation, next generation, and PC all at the same time. They noted that somewhere along the line, this game has evolved into being a next-generation title, and they want to make sure every version runs smoothly. They also did note that even though it's gone gold, that didn't mean that they suddenly stopped working on the game, and on the contrary, they plan on releasing a Day Zero patch in order to improve the overall user experience. So yeah, it all sounds like a bit of a mess right now, and that's the thing. CD Projekt Red has been under the microscope here recently for their work conditions and crunch culture. This is certainly not going to help in terms of how the general public views them. When you start to piece everything together though, it really sounds as if CD Projekt Red is doing everything they can to not miss the holiday rush and those early generation adopters. But yeah, it looks like it's slated to release on December 10th, but we can no longer look at that golden status as a definitive definition of meaning it will release on that exact date. So we'll see if it gets delayed again or not. I will say this though, I'm going to have plenty of games to play in November. There's Demon's Souls, Gears Tactics, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and so many more launch games to go through. So I think I'm already going to be swamped playing other games as it is, but let me know what you think of this delay in the comments below. And speaking of next generation launch games, we got some new information on Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, which has led to a little bit of controversy for the Xbox Series S. It has been confirmed that the Series S version will be the only next generation platform to not have ray tracing. And some fans are a bit surprised by this, because the Series S is advertised as supporting ray tracing. That's the thing though, in some cases it will be able to do ray tracing, but that's not a guarantee in every single game. Don't look at those numbers as being a for sure thing. Now we have known for a while that the Xbox Series S is not as powerful as the Series X or even the PlayStation 5. The Series S is of course a $300 console, and while it's impressive in terms of how much power it offers for the value, there was sacrifices made in order to get its price as low as what it is. While for the most part, early signs are showing some of its strengths, and we're seeing it pretty easily reach 60 frames per second in a lot of games, and in some cases, even as high as 120 frames per second. So it is a very viable machine, and you have to remember that the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro struggled with this, because the processor really has been a major bottleneck for this generation. The main difference with the Xbox Series S compared to the Series X and PlayStation 5 though, has mainly been with the resolution up until now. But as we're seeing, it does look like there's no guarantee that the Series S will have ray tracing, even if the Series X and PlayStation 5 version does. Now maybe developers get better at optimizing games over time, which allows more games to have ray tracing, but again, there's just no guarantees. Ray tracing is incredibly demanding, as I've said on this channel time and time again, and we're seeing that a lot in the early generation with so many games having to have performance modes on all platforms. Ray tracing just takes a lot of power. Still though, I just want to reiterate this. The Xbox Series S is still a viable machine. It's not as powerful as the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5, but thanks to that processor, it's still a big step up from current generation consoles, especially in terms of frame rate. If you want a more powerful platform though, you're probably going to need to get the Xbox Series X, but for the general public that just wants a more affordable next generation platform, the Series S might be a good option. The improved frame rate may be a big enough jump for some to buy in for the Xbox Series S. I will ask you though, does it disappoint you that you're already seeing an Xbox Series S game not have ray tracing? Let me know in the comments below. Moving on, let's talk about the PlayStation 5 because, as we saw last week, several media outlets are starting to get their hands on the highly anticipated console. Well, it looks like we're starting to get some impressions of one of the more interesting aspects of the PlayStation 5, and that's with its new Dualsense controller. I've been really interested in this thing for a while now because every time I hear anybody talk about that controller, they always rave about how good the adaptive triggers feel, and it looks like early impressions echoes that sentiment. Yeah, several outlets got to test out Astro's Playroom, which was designed around the new technology of the DualSense controller. So it really is the perfect game to test out some of these new features. And once again, everybody seems impressed by the adaptive triggers. Now I have to say, some of the technology doesn't sound all that fun, like blowing into your controller, but even then I am interested to see what's going on here with the DualSense. There is this trend of people being very impressed, and some are saying it's not easy to describe. It's probably something we're going to have to feel for ourselves. Now with that in mind, the Xbox controller has had haptic feedback for years, and they call it impulse triggers, but it sounds like the PlayStation 5 is trying to evolve that technology. At least that's how the media makes it sound, but I guess we won't know until we try it out ourselves. I will be interested to see how much third-party developers use some of these features though. Now I will say this, Astro's Playroom looks really good, especially for a free game that comes with your console. This is secretly one of my most anticipated PlayStation 5 games because I really liked Astrobot on PlayStation VR. I think PlayStation VR fans probably know what I'm talking about, but that was legitimately one of the best 3D platformers that I've ever played, and I'm happy to say Astro's Playroom is looking really good. The whole game apparently is you playing inside the PlayStation 5, and the first level is inside the cooling unit for the PlayStation 5. That's why you're seeing so much snow and water. You have to remember that the PlayStation 5 is using liquid metal cooling, so that's pretty creative. Honestly, I think that this game is going to surprise quite a few people in how good it is. On to our last topic though, PlayStation 5 boss Jim Ryan has revealed that the PlayStation 5 first 12 hours of pre-orders were as many as the first 12 weeks of the PlayStation 5 pre-orders in the United States. Yeah, that's huge, but not overly surprising either. The PlayStation 5 is in higher demand than the PlayStation 4, and I've said this before, but Sony's going to sell as many units as they can put on shelves. The PlayStation 4 was selling out for months, and I expect the PlayStation 5 to be much the same way. What we do know is that the PlayStation 4 had 1 million pre-orders in 10 weeks, so this could mean that the PlayStation 5 has already eclipsed 1 million pre-orders in under 12 hours. That's crazy fast, and it just goes to show you the hype and the anticipation for this console. It's also probably going to be very difficult to get early on. They do expect it to sell more units than the PlayStation 4 in its first fiscal year, which was 7 million units by April. But Jim Ryan is already saying it may be difficult to get. Like I said, whatever they put on shelves early on will likely sell. Unfortunately, customers will have to battle it out against scalpers, but this looks to be another impressive launch for PlayStation. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.